political reform.
Right, we're going to just pull out of the speech by Bashar al-Assad because a decision has been made on High Speed 2, and our transport correspondent Richard Westcott is with me now. Richard.
OK, well, it's not going to shock you, this, actually, but they've approved the scheme. They've said they want it to go ahead. This is High Speed 2, so this is the line that will effectively go to Birmingham and then will Y-shape off and go up to Leeds and Manchester. But I'll give you the headlines that we have. Obviously, there's been a lot of rumours about extra tunnels put in to appease Conservative MPs who are facing backlashes for constituents and so on. We know there's going to be an extra 8 miles of tunnel, or green tunnel. I'll explain what that is in a minute, as a result of the consultation which closed at the end of last year. Now, some of that tunnelling will be in the constituency of Cheryl Gillen, who's the Welsh Secretary. Rumours she might resign if this went ahead and so on. But it's green tunnelling. It's not normal tunnelling where you bore it out with the machine. Effectively, you cut a deep groove and you put a tube in it and then you cover it over with grass and trees and so on. So it's a lot cheaper. DfT keen to stress that it's actually going to save them £200 million, £250 million, not cost them £500 million.
And it's going to go through the Chilterns and these areas of outstanding natural beauty?
It will still go through the Chilterns. Basically, it's about 13 miles of the route goes across the Chilterns. Now, they've given me the stats on about 7.5 miles will now be in normal tunnel or these green tunnels, 3.5 miles in deep cuttings, which is just a big groove cut into the ground. The rest of it, about 2 miles on the surface. I've been speaking to lots of people in the Chilterns. I can tell you now, people are not going to be appeased by that. The people I've been speaking to, people talking about betrayal, all sorts of things of their party. But that's the package that the government's come up with.
And the business case, is it as they outlined, what, a couple of years ago when Lord Adonis originally put this forward for Labour?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed once already because of the recession. It's based on, basically, demand for the trains in 30 years' time. And, you know, that's a very, very difficult thing to predict. My understanding is that we'll get a new business case today and that the benefits will be revised down again. Now, what the benefits are, in really simple number to take in, for every £1 you spend on the line to Manchester and Leeds, you get £2.60 back. My understanding is that's going to be revised down, but I don't have the figures yet.
All right, Richard, so that's the breaking news. It has approved, the government has approved this high-speed rail link, High Speed Link 2, which will connect up with the Channel Tunnel, HS1.
Yeah.
Well, look, we're going to get some immediate reaction now because we were speaking a little earlier to one of the scheme's opponents. Jerry Marshall is chairman of the Action Groups Against High Speed 2. He's still with us. Obviously, we've just given you the bullet points there, yeah. Jerry, but give us your thoughts.
Well, as Richard says, it's entirely expected, and the clue to that was the Network Rail report that came out very recently, which backs it. Network Rail have always backed it. Clearly, the government didn't get what they wanted from the consultation, which went against them. They didn't get what they wanted really from the Transport Select Committee, which was deeply critical of HS2, although it supported high-speed rail as we do. So they had to have some bit of paper that said this was a right decision. The business case, of course, is declining. It started at £67 billion of benefit, then it went down to £44 billion of benefit. I did a spoof video once which showed the graph gradually going down, the cost gradually going up, and at some point I said Philip Hammond is going to resign, as indeed he did. So it's a lousy business case. Tunnels won't change that. And I think what's going to happen is eventually it will be kicked into the long grass because this is deeply unpopular. Already 2/3 of the country are against it, so it's a vote loser. The hybrid bill's not going to get into this parliament, so I think it will be dropped at the next parliament, but that will cost the taxpayer billions of pounds, or £1 billion wasted in developing the designs for something which doesn't work.
One of the other issues that we've heard about is that there may well be a legal challenge. You and I were just chatting about this, and the talk of judicial review. Is that something you would seek?
Yes, definitely. When we get the detail of the announcement, various groups will be looking at the opportunities for judicial review. There are quite a number of grounds for that, so we are expecting that will happen.
What is it most disappointing to you about what you're hearing about this now? So obviously, you'd rather there hadn't been an announcement, but if there had been some level of compromise, was there one to be found? Or for you, with the business case, there's nothing that you want to hear?
I think it's disappointing that they haven't looked at all the detail that the Transport Select Committee came up with. There was a lot of information there that they could have responded to. It's disappointing that Justine Greening, who said that she would listen to the people, and of course she was big behind the Heathrow Third Runway campaign, and she said things which are exactly what we've been saying, listening to the people, the government should listen, and actually what's happened, guess what, they haven't. So the whole consultation process was just window dressing. It's been ignored.
OK, Jerry, thanks very much for your initial thoughts. Jerry Marshall there from Action Groups Against High Speed 2. Philip Hammond, I'm not sure, did resign.
No, he didn't resign. I mean, he was promoted, wasn't he, to just to clear up that. But,
Sure.
let's go back to Richard. In terms of the route, though, I mean, some engineers have been saying it is absolute madness that this isn't actually taking in Heathrow as well, because Heathrow is such an important hub. I mean, has that been addressed at all?
They did look at that. There was a report on, by Lord Mairwinnie, I think, to look at whether they should go to Heathrow. Now, there will be a link to Heathrow, but that won't actually open until about 2032. It'll be a little spur that comes off the line. But their argument is, if you go to Heathrow, it will cost extra money, you have to build more tunnels, it takes you up to a totally different side of the country.
But if you're spending £32 billion anyway, I mean, you could argue that another...
We'll tell that to the taxpayers. You know.
Well, just on that point, how much is it going to cost taxpayers per head?
Well, the Taxpayers Alliance say that this is going to be about £1,000 per family. But, of course, the argument is you make back more money for the general economy, you create jobs and so on, so it doesn't actually cost anybody anything. We make money out of it. But all of these, of course, are predictions, and that's where everyone disagrees about it.
Yeah, and also, of course, it was Philip Hammond, before he became Defence Secretary, who said that railways were a rich man's plaything. But only the rich could afford to do that. Do we have any idea of the ticketing structure here, which will allow ordinary people like you and me to be able to travel on this fairly cost effectively?
Yeah, I think the reason a lot of people are asking that question is because we do have a high-speed line, and it goes from Kent to St Pancras in London, and it costs 20% more to commute in from Kent on that line than if you caught an ordinary train. Now, they would argue they're more reliable, they're better trains, they're much, much quicker, but it is more expensive. The DfT telling me yesterday this assumes normal fare structure. So they're saying this isn't based on a premium service. They don't want a premium service. They want it to cost the same as the ordinary railways.
When it comes to, we were talking about compensation